Okay, so I wanted to chronicle, as to the best of my knowledge, how I got here with the novel Mirov. And I felt like if I didn't do it now, I might kind of forget things. So I'm kind of doing this for my own uh, housekeeping. Plus, I mean, somebody might care one day. So anyway, uh, it was according to what I see on files I've kept. Looks like around '98, I wrote a screenplay called Practical Bandits. For some reason, Practical Bandits name came from, I had this idea of these guys that had to pull off a robbery. They needed a certain amount of money, so they decided to pull off like four robberies in one day. But they had like really good reasons to do it, and they needed the money. So it was practical bandits. They had practical reasons to have to do. So the movie was getting these four robberies done in one day. And anyway, I thought the premise was interesting, but I thought the title was good. But for some reason, when I went to write it, it wouldn't really come together. And so it just kind of threw the idea in the back of my head. Well, anyway, I liked the title a lot for some reason. And so I started thinking of, well, what could I do with it? And I don't know why I stayed married to the title so long as I did. It's really, not in hindsight, not that great a title, at least for what this is. Maybe it'd work if you went to the original idea, but I tried to like shoehorn it into this idea. And so anyway, I was like, well, okay, Practical Bandits doesn't really work anymore. This is not a robbery movie. This is I thought the idea, well, have this craft. I like the movie Firefox with Clint Eastwood, and I like the idea that of this super secret uh, jet that, that was the Firefox. So I was like, well, we come up with this craft called the Bandit, and this thing would be invisible. And so then I started with that, and then for somehow or another, I played around with, and I got the name Mirov. I think I was just trying to find, like, I like the idea of this Russian uh, secret agent. I hate to use the word spy because I don't really like. She's not a spy. She's pretty much a hitman for the most part. She just goes in and kills people, and she's more of just a special forces type person, not a spy. So anyway, but called an agent, I guess. Have this agent that would go in and was Russian, and but she was part of this like UN entity, and at the time, I don't think she was. I think she was pretty much human. I think. I don't recall. Maybe I made her half something or other. I can't remember. Anyway, but she had this kid that she. I was like, well, okay, she'll have this kid that she can't see. She longs for, and she's part of this force that would basically all the nukes. This is all over the place, I know, but they had, in the future we'd have, okay, aliens are out there. The world decides to put all their nukes on one thing called the Titan. At the time, it was a space station called the Titan. Over the years, I hate that name now because people overuse the term Titan. And the nukes would be on this thing, and her job as part of her group was to make sure no countries had nukes. And any time they would like constantly surveilling to see if any other country had nukes, they would go in and like find out why they had nukes and like stop the bad guys who had a rogue nuke. So and then meanwhile they have this secret craft called the Bandit, and then these people want to take the nukes and put it on a bandit, and then uh, take over the world type of thing. It wasn't really all that good an idea back then. Anyway, so a road script called Practical Bandits, like '98 ish, and it was bad. It was pretty bad. But anyway, the name Mirov came from the fact of, like, you have Russian. She's Russian, and a lot of like Russian names, and then um, with an ROV, or that kind of thing. So I said, well, I just started looking at different names and stuff. I was like, well, okay, well, Mirov does stand alone in Russian. And I found, started googling back then, and I found this poem, Sredi Mirov. I can't pronounce it. correctly, I'm sure. But anyway, reached out to like a professor somewhere that taught Russian, maybe at Baylor, and I said, "Hey, what does Mirov mean? I have the interpretation correctly?" And he told me basically it was like means among or amidst. It's sort of in Russian, sort of an endearing type of a thing. Anyway, so I read the script, and there's pretty much you had Unidom, you had uh, rogue elements that wanted to take over the Titan, that wanted to use the Bandit, that wanted to use a rogue nuke, all these different things, and they're in cahoots with aliens, and some of the stuff that all survived. And the daughter is constantly, being chased, and they didn't do it. Shit ended up with her at the end of that one. I think she stayed with like the foster or adoptive mom or whatever that has her. So those elements were all there, but it was like really heavy on like the corporation. Like Unidom was not so much of an official like UN type governmental body, more almost like a corporation, and like it went more with like the whole RoboCop influence of like OCP, and Unidom was like OCP, and she kind of that Mirov was not really on full on the Unidom side. She's almost like one of those people that like she only was Unidom for when there was something good that was going to happen, and she out of necessity, but she really wasn't part of them. This whole thing. And then I developed we wrote a second one that was called Necropolis Bandits, and then in that one, the Unidom becomes full bad guy in that one, and then they go after her daughter, and then the governor character becomes the full-on bad guy, which I have no intention of doing now. But at the time, like I made the governor in the second one become a full-on bad guy. Anyway, I didn't know if the governor was in the first draft or some guy named Riley. It was kind of like the Ronnie Cox character from RoboCop. This is all over the map, I know, but I'm trying to piece it all back together. Anyway, so somewhere along the way is Practical Bandits, and the more I thought about it over the years, I realized that title makes no damn sense to shoehorn onto this one. The Bandits might work, but Practical had no bearing. I don't know why I stayed married to it for so long in my head. So anyway, I wrote Practical Bandits. Wrote a second one called Necropolis Bandits. And the Necropolis, pretty much, it was basically Mars gets its independence, and this whole big battle at the end for Mars get their independence, and the daughter ends up fully with her full time in that one. And I was going to write a third one where the Rabari invade the Earth. Well, I never got around the third one. And how life happens, and you don't write, and you don't kind of goes to the back burner, and I pursued other projects, but it's always kind of in there in my head, sort of loitering around. And Mirov herself is heavily influenced by Smila's Sense of Snow. Julie Armand. I don't know anything about the book. I never read the book. I have no interest in reading the book. I just saw the movie, and I really like Julie Armand's portrayal of Smila in that movie. She was tough, and there's a scene where her stepmom, who's like way younger than her, that had this pretty young thing, had married her dad, and they're always fighting back and forth. Smila and this stepmom, which is kind of ridiculous to call her that, but it's what she is. And way younger, making fun of each other back and forth. There's this great scene where the Smila's had enough, and she grabs the stepmom by the throat and by the crotch and shoves her against the wall, like, leave me alone. And I liked that she was that kind of like, she was brutal. She was more tough and direct and brutal, maybe. I don't know if brutal is the right word. She's just more everything than most typical female heroines, and I really liked it. I really liked the performance, liked the look, all of it. So Mirov in my head pretty much was heavily derived from Smila Sense of Snow, particularly Julie Armand, Smila Sense of Snow. And if this was a movie that's going to be made like then, like, I would totally have cast Julie Armand to do this. Like, it's still in my mind. It's still Julie Armand from Smila Sense of Snow. When I write it, it's Julie Armand, Smila Sense of Snow doing this stuff. Anyway, so that's where kind of her or Mirov's origin comes from. That's where the name comes from. A lot of these elements were back there. You had Mars, you had the Bandit, you had a space station. All these elements were there, but they were in different arrangements. So over time, I changed around the arrangements and stuff. And then with COVID, I had a lot of extra time. A lot of us did, and I said, well, let me just go ahead and just dive back into this. And I guess I'll save that for part 2 of this thought.